I saw an Instagram story a short while ago. I'm not going to mention who posted it, but I wanted to add to the comment that was made. I'm not going to mention what the comment was about either. I thought I'd do this in audio format rather than video format. I suspect this is going to be a bit longer than what I usually put out. So, if you stay to the end, thank you. I appreciate it. For those who don't know, I'm Carmen. I'm a part-time content creator and digital creator. The other part of the time, I do the finances at an animal welfare organization. I talk about all things related to lifestyle, writing, and have short discussion style videos about various topics. If you're new, welcome. As I mentioned previously, I don't usually do audio format, but I hope that you enjoy it anyways. There's a few things that I want to clarify before I add to the comment that was made. In the entertainment industry, yes, women do get exploited sexually. Do I think they should get exploited sexually or viewed as a sexual object if they happen to dress a certain way? No. Also, in the entertainment industry, it is hard to get started. And for women, some feel they might need to be a certain way to advance in the industry and so are agreeable. In other words, they give their agency away and in exchange, they get to advance in the industry. They get told what to do. Do people deserve to get taken advantage of because they gave their agency away? No. This happened for a lot, if not most of the 90s, as well as prior to the 90s. And this is something I'll get back to in a moment. Both situations are difficult to be in. And yes, women do not choose to be there. Some never end up speaking up and keep quiet for the time that they are alive. And then there are those who choose to speak out at some or other stage. Some choose to leave the industry altogether because of what they've been through. I'm not going to comment about the entertainment industry before the 90s. I was born in the late 80s, so I had my childhood in the 90s and saw the entertainment industry as it was back at that stage, prior to the internet. And even though the internet did start in the 90s, those within the entertainment industry didn't have a say in what was said in the media or online at the time. And yes, in the 90s, it was difficult to establish your own agency because you had to work through someone if you wanted to get anywhere in the entertainment industry. And if you wanted to keep being in the industry, you better do what you were told. Unless you were one of those who were in a position to call your own shots. So yes, there were a good few people who were taken advantage of during the 90s and were exploited, all to make money in the entertainment industry. One of those people that I'm going to talk about / mention today is Britney Spears. And before I carry on with this topic, again, there are some things I want to clarify / acknowledge. Despite the way she was and always has been presented, no. She did not deserve to get taken advantage of the way she did throughout her music career. And yes, the more I learn about all she had to endure and put up with while she was in the music industry, I can understand why she left. She was basically a cash cow for a lot of people, those who were directly involved with her, as well as for those who weren't directly involved with her. They all made money out of her. It feels as if a lot of the time she had very little agency, despite the power that she had and despite the iconic status and influence she built up for herself. Something I noticed years later when watching the earlier interviews with her is how much of a people pleaser she was. This is something that dissipated somewhat over the years, and especially towards the end of the conservatorship. I haven't read a book yet, but I have read enough about it to have a general idea of what the book entails. One last thing I want to say before I start with my response is that at this stage, I would rather put money directly into Britney's hands rather than support anything else or anyone else that might have had a hand in making money off of her, especially if the money isn't going to her. And this is despite the fact that I don't agree with the way she presents herself a lot of the time. Also, despite the things I'm going to mention after this intro, I'm still going to have one last point that I want to mention about Britney, and I will be closing on a positive note. Alright, so now that I'm done with the lengthy intro, let's begin. The first person I'm going to mention who I feel is one of the people who were pivotal in changing how women did things in the music industry is Avril Lavigne. I know that there might be some who think that she was manufactured, but even if that was true, she was still one of those who influenced the fact that women didn't have to be sex objects to thrive, and women could be songwriters and musicians without having to sell sex to be successful in the music industry. Also, Avril's still in the music industry. She fought for what she wanted. She wasn't going to sing songs that, for the most part, were written for her. She was going to write her own songs and collaborate with other songwriters. The last thing I want to mention, even Avril got tired of being compared to Britney, having been given the label anti-Britney. And yes, her image has shifted a bit since she first came onto the music scene. Avril still came out at a time where music artists didn't have a lot of say in things. For quite a while, people thought that the only way women could thrive in the music industry was to sell sex. Avril was one of those to trash that theory. She was one of those who showed other women that they could have their own agency in the music industry. And no, we're not going to mention those who mock the influence/legacy that Britney has built. Britney was successful in the era that she has been a part of, and to dismiss or deny that isn't the way to go. Avril just showed that there was another way to do things and only disagreed with the way that Britney presented herself. Avril 1, Britney 0. The next person I'm going to mention is Christina Aguilera. Christina was one of those who also started almost at the same time as Britney. For a while, like Britney, Christina went along with what others told her to do, though there came a day where that stopped, and Christina started dictating things for herself. She started pushing back against those who told her what to do and how to do things. If there was anyone who was in the music industry at the same time that Britney was, that showed what can happen when you start pushing back and start taking back your autonomy and start dictating things for yourself, it was Christina. Though, like Britney, I wasn't the hugest fan of the way Christina presented herself. But again, Christina is still in the music industry. Christina 1, Britney 0. The last person I'm going to mention is Taylor Swift. Similar to Avril, Taylor came at a time where she was able to dictate things for herself and insisted that she gets to dictate things for herself. The advantage, however, that Taylor had over Avril is that Taylor was able to start on the beginnings of social media as it was back at that time, MySpace. This was how Taylor broke into the industry in the first place and was able to create a name for herself. One thing I will say about Taylor is that, like Britney, she started out as a bit of a people pleaser, but like Christina, there came a point where she drew a line in the sand and mostly stopped that. Though That only happened after she'd had a period of going silent due to an incident where she received backlash over a publicized conversation. But again, like the two others I mentioned previously, Taylor is still in the music industry and for the moment is going strong. Taylor 1, Britney 0. Alright, we're almost done with this conversation. So here's the last thing I want to say about Britney. Despite the fact that I disagree with how Britney presents herself, she didn't deserve to be taken advantage of the way she has. She seems like a very giving person, and due to the way she has been treated, she has needed to start looking out for herself. Unfortunately, I think she has also learned the hard way what happens when women don't have agency, when women give their agency away or are people pleasers. And even worse, a lot of this has taken place in the public eye as well. The fact that she has come out at the other side of all of this is amazing. Whenever Britney decides to make an official comeback to the music industry, I hope that she gets to dictate things on her own terms. I hope that she doesn't feel she has to sell sex to be successful. Others have paved the way for her to present herself differently if she so chooses, and will still do so despite the fact that there will be those who call her a sellout and who miss the old Britney. I hope she slays. I wish her all the best. Britney 1, everyone else 0.